Welcome back, my friends, to the show that's about to begin. My Training Week in Review, Episode 3. I want to start with some gratitude. Thank you, professors and training partners. What another great week it's been. For those of you who are still getting to know me, I've been around the block more than a few times. As a matter of fact, it's taken a lifetime for all of us to get to where we are today. Today, once again, I'm talking about being a student of the martial way, but I'm also an instructor of the martial way. So let's start with a story about one of my students whom I met back in the 1980s, Jimmy Bob. Jimmy Bob was already a black belt in Taekwondo. When we met, we trained together. Years flew by. I attended his weddings. Well, in honesty, I don't remember ever being invited to his first wedding. And I was late coming to his second wedding, but I made it to his last wedding. That was in the year 2014. I brought home with me this here bottle of ale. True story. And it's been in my refrigerator ever since. So I guess after about 8 years, the time has come for me to let it go. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to finally open up this bottle of Gaelic ale that I got at Jimmy Bob's hopefully last wedding. Well, don't look like I'm going to open it that way. So I came prepared like a Boy Scout. I came prepared with a bottle opener. Here we go. Let's see what happens. I hope it don't make a mess. We'll see. Oh, there it goes. I've opened up a bottle of 8-year-old Gaelic ale, and this is what we're going to do with it. We're just going to throw it away, which, why not? It's been in the refrigerator for how long now? 8 years. I don't really care much about alcohol and other drugs. Anyway, my point is, Jimmy Bob and I both have grown and changed over the years. It would be fair to say we've always had different styles. I asked him once what he would call his martial art. You know what he said? He replied, "It's called, I'm gonna take a can of whoop ass out on you." Well, sounds like a great martial art. And this is what to remember. I might not be better than him at his art, but I'm the best at my martial art. And it follows that I'm not the best at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. See, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I'm a novice trying to advance to an intermediate play. Therefore, I'm studying BJJ again. And I'm going to talk about that during this program. That's why we're here, my training week of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But before closing today's story about my friend Jimmy Bob, I just want to say we like to play chess together. You might have heard that program, Queen's Gambit. That's chess playing. Well, anyone good at the game knows chess has 3 parts of play. 1, the opening. 2, the middle game. And 3, the end game. Masters and grandmasters of chess jump from the openings to the end game. The middle game, known for playing strategy and tactics, is second nature to the advanced player. That's what it's like for advanced players and practitioners of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. For me, I'm still learning the openings in BJJ. The star of the show is J.W. Wright. And he'll tell you, he's not the star. It's his master, Brother Gracie. I've known J.W. since 2010. He's my friend. He's fond of telling his students to tap before passing out when they're being choked. He says tap because you're not going to learn anything while you're asleep. I told a bunch of my classmates, I'm pretty sure J.W.'s talking about me when he says that. See, I know I've been put to death by J.W. Wright, and I'm alive to talk about it today. Well, I'm not going to talk about it today. Today, it's about table legs. See, J.W. taught us that our hands and knees are our base, and they're like table legs. We use them to post. When we move one of our table legs, we signal to our opponent our direction. See, that's fundamental. That's a fundamental. Believe it, I'm learning BJJ fundamentals. One of the things he's teaching us about fundamentals is that the fundamentals application shift if we're practicing in a gi or without a gi. See, clothing makes a difference. So, here we are. I've got good old Bob, body opponent bag, and he has on a gi. See, the gi gives more opportunities to choke the opponent. It has a collar, so you can slip your hand in this way, and here, and up against the carotid as you pull in, always this way, and you can choke Bob because he has on a gi. And when you're dealing in a situation with a gi, it's different than dealing with a situation where your opponent doesn't have a gi. Fundamentals will help us understand those things. And I'm just going to move Bob away for just a moment. Bob needs to take a walk over here to the corner for a moment. He doesn't have any arms or legs, people. We're just going to move Bob back here. Now that Bob's out of the way, I want to go ahead and tell you again that the fundamentals will help you understand the vantage points of whether you're on the bottom or the top, and whether I or you are playing offense or defense. I'm learning drills and techniques in all my classes, including but not limited to fundamentals on Monday nights at 6 p.m. and sometimes I attend Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. The more I show up, the more I learn. I've always said, especially when it comes to martial arts training, you get out of it what you put into it. And that, my friends, is a life lesson. Think about it. Another star of the show is indeed Professor Stephen Wyatt. See, Wyatt spent 11 years, almost 12, in the U.S. Army. So I was talking about Stephen Wyatt's class and how I was learning a lot of wrestling along with jiu-jitsu. Now, both are classified as grappling arts, and grappling arts differ than say, striking arts, say like karate, Tang Soo Do, and boxing, just to name a few striking arts. Whatever. Some of the drills that we do in Wyatt's no-gi class require partners. Others are solo drills. I like these solo drills. I'm just going to show you a couple of solo drills. I don't have a training partner here with me, but I can show you a couple of the solo drills that we're doing in Professor Wyatt's class. It's just a basic start in a bear crawl. So we're in the bear crawl, and as we're moving through the bear crawl, we're going to place a hand and we're going to kick over like this. And we're going to move through the bear crawl, and when we get here, we're going to post and kick over like that. Because kicking over is an important thing to be able to do when you're grappling. So that's one drill, just a simple bear crawl to kick over. Another drill that we're doing in Professor Wyatt's class is also from a bear crawl. This time, however, it's a sit out. And this is really an upper body build. As we're in the bear crawl, instead of turning over, we're going to post on this hand and we're just going to sit out. We're going to move this way, we're just going to sit out. We're just going to move this way and we're just going to sit out. We're going to move back and we're going to sit out. We're going to move back and we're going to sit out. So those are 2 solo drills that we've done in the no-gi class. But the truth of the matter is, not everyone is the star of the show. I partnered with Tall Mike for pummeling drills and pummel warfare. He kept his left elbow tight to his rib cage, making it nearly impossible for me to get an underhook. Well, we played pummel warfare together, and we also played pummel warfare with everyone else that was happening in that in the class. And the goal of pummel warfare, according to Professor Wyatt, is to establish the dominant position. I also partnered with Brian, who I hope will become a recurring character in this series. Maybe, just maybe, he'll join me live during Johnny Live, or maybe in a post-production version of the show too. I'll have to ask him. He's a young Marine vet who's now studying health, education, and business at Lindenwood University. We drilled in the no-gi class several chokes from the mount. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the belt here from Bob. This belt, as you can see, is a belt. Now you can't tell in the live shot because in a live shot what you have happening is a reverse, but it's a black belt with my name on it. And so I've removed that, and I'm also going to take off this gi because, like I said, we don't always have the opportunity to work with somebody who's wearing a gi. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lay this bob down right in front of you. And I'm just going to show you one of the drills that we did as a partner drill. And this one I did actually with Brian. So Bob doesn't have any arms. So we were like fishing for the arm. And then we would go underneath the head like this and wrap all the way around until we could get our own hand back over his neck and into our body, and then we just lift up and give him a good choke. So you got to get under the head, and anytime you can get under somebody's head, it's a dangerous position for the person who's down. So remember, that was a choke from mount in a no-gi situation where the hand slides underneath the neck, and as it slides underneath the neck, you're grabbing up and clasping your hand, and you're just coming up into a choke. And Brian and I worked on that one together. Now, I want to go ahead and stand Bob back up, and so I'll just leave Bob lay down for a second. Don't really matter to me. But moving along from offense and back to defense Thursday morning, I partnered with Les during JW's class about escaping a collar choke and advancing the escape with a reversal. Well, I can tell you this, it's all about timing. Kind of like if you have a live shot and during the live shot your computer decides to reboot and do its thing. But anyway, it's all about timing. See, timing is one of the constants in all martial arts that is deemed an extremely important element. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sports competition training, when we're in a bad position, sometimes it's necessary to wait. Remember, we're training. We're training. We're not trying to hurt each other. We're all there to learn. Or at least I am. And I am learning. I returned Thursday night for my first judo class at Gracie Yamada. We had a substitute teacher. It was Brian's father, Dan. Now, Dan is a black belt in judo, and he's an instructor for the judo club White Dragon. His big question for me, do I know how to break fall? Ha! That was an easy one. Yeah! I've been doing judo forever. It seems like forever. Judo is the first martial art I ever studied. I've been break falling since kindergarten. Well, we partnered up for warm-ups. The basic warm-up consisted of moving with my partner, lapel grip and elbow grip, while attempting to break each other's balance and execute a throwing technique without actually taking your partner to the mat. At one point, Dan decided to throw me to the mat. He failed to control the fall and ended up with me having side control of him. That happened. It can happen to anyone. Let that sink in. The judo lesson for the night was Osotogari, the same Osotogari that we were learning tonight in JW's fundamentals, but we were executing it from a different position. It's a common throw. It means outer reaping throw. I like it. And like all judo throws, the first thing you do is break your opponent's balance. Dan did a great job instructing me on moving my opponent off balance. He also provided a proven detail for the throw. One of the proven details for the throw is undoubtedly controlling the head. Now, this is Bob. I cannot throw Bob because I cannot break Bob's balance because Bob doesn't have any arms or legs. Can't break his balance. But anyway, he also provided some more details. And for this lesson, I used my arm around the Uki's neck. However, everyone in the class got to throw everyone in the class. That means if there were 11 students in the class, each of us was thrown 11 times, and each of us executed 11 throws. I don't remember how many people were in the class, but I know there were at least 12. 10 of my 11 throws were near perfect, if not perfect, and the one that was not perfect, the remaining one required correction. I started the technique poorly. See, accepting feedback is required to get better. Better at anything, most likely. For example, I tried during warm-ups to execute a standing seonagi which is an over-the-shoulder throw. Dan saw my attempt, came over and corrected my arms and grips. Rather than levering my opponent with my arms under his tricep, I needed to put my bicep into his armpit. See, Bob doesn't have an armpit. Anyway, the correction made a huge difference in executing the technique. Now, some people, honestly, some people never know how to accept feedback. They have a difficult time accepting feedback. I took the time to let Matt Brown No, I mentioned him during last week's episode. I saw another one of his Facebook posts pop up on my newsfeed. I commented about his post. In my comment, I wrote, despite liking most of what he writes, personally, I didn't like his cussing. Sure, I know how to cuss. I'm an adult. You don't even have to be an adult to know how to cuss. But I don't like cussing. So I wrote, I don't talk that way. The result? You chose to unfriend me. So, goodbye, Matt Brown. Good luck with your personal training. It's sad your gym Sweat went out of business. I hope you're still standing on your own two feet. Show must go on. As you can see, enter star Professor Phil Lampy. I told you last week I've known Phil since he was a white belt. In May 2011, at the same tournament I earned a bronze medal, Phil earned a gold and silver medal in his division. And right about 6 months and under? And even back then, he was a team player. I went back and watched my interview of him before his final match at that tournament. Fast forward to now. Friday, it was all about establishing guard from the bottom. Phil reminded everyone no one is really going to just sit down and place themselves in your guard. Matter of fact, JW said that again in tonight's fundamental class. It just doesn't happen that way. Therefore, it's necessary to gain the position. He taught us a good grip to lasso that can lead to double sleeve grips and advance to a tomo nagi and that leads to getting to the mount. That means we're moving from the bottom position to the top, moving from bottom to top. Good stuff, Professor Lampy. Sure enough, I'm partnered again with a heavy guy, a big heavy guy. My training partner, I think his name was Jason. He is a heavyweight purple belt. I called him a teddy bear, sweetheart. He was a fantastic Yuki for sure, but working with him was a pleasure. But when you're training with someone and applying techniques we're learning, it has its own pros and cons. See, I got to throw this big guy over me and mount him, but the one time I did it wrong, well, I took his knee to my nose. Remember, I'm talking martial arts. Knees to nose happen in jiu-jitsu, usually not on purpose. I call it a learning experience. Fortunately, there was no blood and no broken bones or broken nose. Fortunately, just remember, those things can happen too. And by the way, Jason suffers from arthritis. He has limited mobility at times. That can cause other problems while training, and those issues need to be addressed prior to applying techniques. Personally, I have an extremely high tolerance level for pain. But I can tell you this, my goals include regaining some of my former glory that included amazing dexterity and agility. People asked me if I was double jointed. Well, I wasn't. I just stayed limber. And I'm hoping that my range of motion, although it has diminished in the past decade, I'm hoping that that is not a permanent situation. Seriously, I think about it. I'm like the professional assassin, extremely accurate shooter in the movie Suicide Squad 2, the sequel, when he was confronted by rats. Someone asked him why no one knew he had a rat phobia. His reply, I'm a professional killer. Why would I tell anyone about any of my weaknesses, including rat phobia? Thoughtful answer, isn't it? Well, this leads me to my final chapter of this episode. Glad you all stuck around so long to watch me speak. I spent Saturday training with another big boy. This time, we'll call him Talkative Mike. Mike has no left arm range of motion. That limited how efficient he could be as my Yuki. Although it didn't stop him from being a bit rough. I took it. Like I said, I have a high tolerance for pain. I listened to him because it's obvious my submissions lack some necessary details for efficient and effective use. Specific submissions included an arm and head choke, armbar, and wrist lock. Saturday's lessons included the middle game. We learned the movements necessary to gain the position to execute our end game. JW is teaching us to look for specific responses by our opponent. The responses that are normal, and given enough experience, those responses can be forced. The more I can isolate the response of my opponent, the easier it will be to gain my desired position and eventually finish the opponent with the submission already in my mind. Of course, I need to work on those details that lock in the submissions and my opponent from escaping and reversing the position. To close this episode 3, I want to remind everybody I need more money to make all my productions better. I can see better cameras. Certainly tonight's live shot could have used better technology. I can see better lighting. I can see better audio setups. I need better technology. And to get it, I'm going to need money. I'm going to also need a grappling dummy for this series. Remember, Bob doesn't have arms and legs. I'm hopeful to have other people present in future episodes of this series, both during the live show and its follow-up cut. My editing tools need to be updated, so send me money. Okay, sponsor me and my programs. Go ahead and set up a GoFundMe page for me, or a Kickstarter page. I have bills to pay. I have medical bills not covered by insurances. You want better? I want better. I need money. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. You've been a great audience. Ciao.